from the BBC. Andrew released under investigation after arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office. I love how we call him Prince Andrew, but they don't. That's because he's not a prince anymore. Look at this picture of him.
Oh, he looks terrified.
How do you, imagine being such a scumbag that you get booted from being a prince? Like literally, that's worse than your family disowning you.
By a guy like King Charles, who cheated on Princess Diana, of all people, for a very long time and then married that weirdo.
Yeah, I just got to stress to anybody who's only listening to audio, you are missing out because this picture of Prince Andrew would... Well, it'll probably freak you out, but
we had some good.
There's a little Schadenfreude.
We had some good descriptors before the show of that. Should we mention
of his picture?
Yeah, of what was going on in the picture.
It says he's haunted.
No, we'll save that for the uncensored portion of the show.
It looks like a man who had a psychotic break. Like if you accidentally got unplugged from the Matrix and saw the real reality, and then they had to pull you out of your home and instantly get you to the psych ward. That is the face of
Like they put him back in, like he broke through the veil and saw the truth, but then they pulled him back, and he's like,
yeah,
I have seen it all.
Like how they get this angle.
I mean,
well, it's like through the front of the cop car.
Wait, okay,
British
guys.
paparazzi are crazy.
We have to explain the news. So they write, and I love saying this, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has been released under investigation following his arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office. This we understand, but let's jump to the meat and potatoes here. It's the first time he's been arrested. He consistently and strenuously denied any wrongdoing. Indeed. And what is the misconduct? I'm going to have to jump down because they're really laying it on thick. So he's always denied wrongdoing in his association with Epstein. These files get released. And now we've got this former UK Minister, Gordon Brown, has told the BBC he has submitted a 5-page letter to several UK police forces providing new and additional information from the Epstein files. So let's see, we got Jouffre. This is just a very, very poorly put together article, I must stress, from, here we go. In 2010, Andrew appears to have forwarded government reports from visits to Vietnam, Singapore, and China to Epstein. Files relating to the late financier recently released by the U.S. Department of Justice appear to show. The documents also appear to show Andrew forwarded information on investment opportunities in gold and uranium in Afghanistan to Epstein. Now, this is fascinating. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, you got a lot of Trump supporters and you got a lot of strangely weird, not Trump supporter, moderate people who are like, the Epstein files are a nothing burger. It's all exaggerated. Virginia Giuffre's a liar. And now they're saying Andrew wasn't even arrested related to anything to the girls. It was public misconduct. Here's what I find fascinating. First, he's facing life in prison over this.
It's a big deal.
This is a life in prison penalty. Misconduct in public office, giving this information to Epstein. The question is, why did he do it? Well, there's a picture of former Prince Andrew with Virginia Giuffre, who I believe she was 17 at the time in that photograph.
I don't know.
I could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. And the argument for a long time, the conspiracy is that Epstein would bring on underage girls. The play that the conspiracy is this. He says, hey, I got a private jet. You want to fly? I'm going from, California to New York. And you're like, oh, wow, private jet. So you're some politician, you're some corporate boss. You get in the plane and then you're flying. When all of a sudden you see this young lady come out and Epstein says she can take care of you. And then the powerful person says, okay, don't worry, she's 18. Mm-hmm. Then after she takes care of him, Epstein goes, she's 16 and I own you. And if you don't do as I say, I'm going to release the videos of the photos. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's one of the theories. So when you have this picture of Prince Andrew with a 17-year-old girl, these young women reportedly were hired on as masseuses, but they were just underage prostitutes. And then Prince Andrew, it's revealed, is arrested for leaking privied information to Epstein. It does lightly corroborate this claim. It doesn't mean it's proving it, but it does lend itself to this theory that Epstein was getting access and information from powerful global elites after they had, Now it's possible Andrew's just a slime ball and was leaking information to Epstein, his buddy, because he was giving him underage hookers. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But either way, Andrew is a scumbag, and now he is in deep, deep trouble.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, you've got a really bad situation when you get booted from being the prince, and that was before.
Yeah, didn't his mom pull his title?
Yeah, I think actually I do think it was the Queen before she passed away. But and that was before all of the evidence of him giving state secrets to Epstein. Mm-hmm. So I would like to see Americans that have engaged in some of the nefarious activity be, investigated, or see something come of that.
Well,
Because as much as everyone wants to see people that have violated kids, face punishment and face the music, but like Andrew's not an American, and there's a lot of Americans that have influence here that are alleged to have done some.
Well,
pretty
it really
disgusting
does.
stuff.
The whole Epstein thing really does seem to be taking a toll on the UK. It took out one of Starmer's top aides, who I think he'd appointed as ambassador to Washington. It's taken out like some other people in the Labour Party, and I gotta say, I find that kind of funny. Because here you've had, Jamie Raskin and all of the rest of them howling for months to release these files, despite, the efforts to release the files. And then it turns out that it's actually just taking down Democrat allies in the UK.
Well, speaking to what Tim was saying about blackmail, this is the second case of someone in the UK getting in trouble for sharing financial secrets. I think it was the Starmer case that you were talking about, who let Epstein know that there was a big bailout going on before it happened.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But I love it because, if other countries are taking this seriously, it plays into the reality of something actually happened here. And I think that puts more pressure on the United States government to actually investigate it and start bringing some allegations and some lawsuits against people.
Depends on how black-pilled you are, because if the first person you see that gets arrested from this, by the way, it's not one, it's two technically if you count Ghislaine Maxwell. I suppose that counts as arrest number one. Yeah. But in general, if the first person you see, when the whole of the scandal seems to, at least at its face, took place in America or started in America, and the first arrests are happening overseas, it's like, just how deep is the rot and the corruption in the U.S. government that it finds its way to the UK before any of it find its way here. And I do think one of the problems with all of this going on right now is like people are getting black-pilled because you're following the story every day. It feels like it's kind of it's like retold to you, and you see the horrors, or you hear about the horrors of what is going on, and every day goes by, you don't see anything happen, and it's really easy to lose faith in anything when that continues to be your reality each and every day.
I don't think that they're arresting former Prince Andrew, over nothing, right? And what that means is what we're hearing is probably just the tip of the iceberg. Because typically people in this position of power, even a disgraced individual, they protect them. There are tons of people who have been disgraced, but for some reason you never get accountability. And now they're going after him because I fear or I should say, I believe there is something much, much worse underneath all of this. And this is just what they're telling us to avoid the worst of possible reactions.
Yeah.
What do you think the worst stuff is?
I think he was diddling kids. I think that based on what we know about the Epstein thing.
Epstein was, or this Andrew?
Well, so here's the challenge with the Epstein stuff. There's a lot of people arguing that what Epstein was doing was with teenage girls, not children.
Right.
There are videos and creepy things of underage kids, prepubescent kids in the Epstein files. So I do believe there is evidence to corroborate that Epstein, in fact, was a diddler. But there are a lot of people who argue that's not the case. I think seeing some of these videos are censored, by the way, but they're appearing on X. Yeah, I think Epstein was probably doing a lot worse than what they're just claiming. For Andrew, I'd throw this under. Andrew knew that he was with underage girls. He was going to the island, engaging in it quite a bit, and they know he was doing it. When he gave that interview on the BBC, and they're like, Virginia Giuffre says that you were dancing together and you were quite sweaty. And he goes, oh, well, that's not quite strange because I don't sweat, or at least I didn't. And it's like, weird. What? It's like, I have a peculiar medical condition where I don't sweat. No, I think they're looking at the files coming out now and they're saying, if more comes out, it's going to destroy the royal family. Arrest him now. Because the Virginia Giuffre stuff was bad enough. Now we find out he was leaking information to Epstein. They're probably saying, this can't go any further. If more information comes out or is found, because people haven't even gone through all of the files yet.
Yeah,
if we don't do anything, they're cooked. So I think the attitude of the royal family and just the UK in general is arrest him now. When the worst stuff comes out, we can say, see, we arrested him. We're on top of it.
Sometimes they'll get you on something smaller so they can build their case around something bigger when they know they have it, but they need time.
Like getting Al Capone on tax evasion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they couldn't get him on anything else.
Yeah.
That's why I actually see this as a giant white pill, because I feel like we're educating the general American public to the actual corruption of our government. And typically speaking, when it comes to these corruption storylines, they aren't that sticky. They go away. but I feel like the public's demanding that this is looked into and people are held accountable. And so the fact that the elites have to pretend like they actually represent us, and now the UK is folding and actually arresting Andrew, I think that's the wheel's starting to turn. And I actually think that this is in my opinion, a very promising storyline because it's not going away.
Yeah, it's definitely not going away. And honestly, I think that's largely because of all of the people like online that are really just kind of hammering it away. There are constantly people talking about this. This doesn't, whether it be on podcasts or just, in chat rooms talking on X and stuff, like this is something that actually ignoring it isn't going to make it go away. It's something that has to be addressed by the administration.
Yeah, unless you're such a Donald Trump fan that you feel like innocent CEOs are going down over a Democratic hoax.
I mean, fair enough, but like that's a fair criticism. But the thing is, like, I don't think that's. I think that the people that are Donald Trump fans that are just like are trying to brush it off. I think for the most part, their argument is just, well, Donald Trump isn't actually accused of these things in the Epstein files. He's all over the Epstein files. Yes, he was, he was friends with Epstein to some point or to one point, but like, it's not like there's, really legitimate, credible accusations in there that are like, oh, Donald Trump did this recently or what have you,
Well, and a lot of it was news articles that had his name in it.
Well, it's not just that. It's there were, I don't know why they're releasing these. There's files, FBI cold tips from 5 years after Epstein's dead.
Mm-hmm.
What is the purpose of submitting a tip with no corroboration in 2025 about Donald Trump? They're wild and outrageous, and I really do recommend read them. Mm-hmm. Read these claims against Donald Trump because they are the epitome of the absurd. When Brett Kavanaugh was going through confirmation, these stories started emerging from these accusers that Brett Kavanaugh was involved in parties in college where the men would line up outside of a bedroom where a woman would be held captive during the party, and these men would take turns forcing that woman while she was trapped in that room. Okay, I'm being very light with the language in case there's children. Sure. And it was the most shockingly insane thing. Because if you have 100 people in a frat house and there's a woman trapped screaming as guys take turns lined up outside, everybody would know that was happening.
Yeah, that's
Look at the lacrosse scandal, the Duke lacrosse scandal. Like, come on.
That ended up not being real anyway,
Right. The claims against Donald Trump in these files are beyond that level. I don't want to, it's really graphic accusations. I am not saying that 100% of them are definitively false, but they are so over the top absurd. One of them is that Donald Trump walked around a room full of little girls with a measuring tape, and I'll save the description of what was going on for the uncensored portion of the show because this is really graphic stuff, but this is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Donald Trump was not walking around with a measuring tape and little girls, and it's just not happening. I mean, this is an accusation from like 2025. So we are in the height of anti-Trumpism, and a tip gets called in during right after Trump gets elected, and some of these are 2024 during an election cycle, and it's just like, okay, we get it. You're putting up billboards. You're trying to claim that Trump is involved with Epstein. That being said, there are claims about Trump going back a long time. And I've got no problem if it sounds reasonable to pursue. In that capacity, I'll shout out Dan Bongino and Kash Patel when they say some of these things are ridiculous and uncorroborated. It's not just about Trump. I've made this point ad nauseum. Tony Hawk was not on the island, did not get married on the island. And this is another FBI tip that came in on the phone accusing Tony Hawk of getting married on Epstein Island. It's just absolutely insane and not real. So when you hear that stuff, I'm sorry. We have 10 years now of Orange Man bad. It makes it very difficult for me to believe these wild, ridiculous accusations.
I think the accusations against Trump trying to implicate his involvement or anything with kids is completely unsubstantiated, is not a valid criticism. I think criticizing this administration for taking part in covering this up, not wanting to investigate it, and not digging in more and being, not that the other administrations did a terrible job with this too, but he's the most recent administration, and I don't think they just fumbled on it. I think they took a look in there and realized, hey, we don't want any part of cracking this door open, and I think it's fair to criticize the administration, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's fair. Look, anytime you're in government, you're opening yourself up to criticism, right? I mean, everyone has some kind of beef with the government to some degree. So if you're in a position in the government, you're opening yourself up to criticism, and it's perfectly fair. And as for the administration's handling, it's probably, I mean, it's incredibly obvious that this was the biggest blunder that the Trump administration has done. Like the handling, whether it be the binders when they came out, all of that stuff, and a lot of it falls on Pam Bondi, I think personally. But Donald Trump definitely has his fair share because of the way that he treated it when he says when he says things like it's a Democrat hoax. I understand what he meant, as in it was Democrats saying that Donald Trump is in the files and had done inappropriate things in the files. That's what Trump was talking, or that's what I think Trump was talking about when he said the hoax. Like it's another Democrat hoax, just like the good people on both sides. They implied that he had said something that
They do so many of them.
Yeah, but
they do. But so I think that's what he meant.
One.
Sure. He's not doing himself. It was horribly mismanaged on all
absolutely.
accounts.
That's the overall point I was making.
Let's give a quick shout out to Thomas Massey real quick. Because he's not technically correct, but he's technically correct, the best kind of correct. He posted this image, number of arrests, Russia collusion hoax 0, Jan 6 0, Mar-a-Lago raid 0, Biden auto pen 0, 2020 election 0, Epstein pedophile arrests 1, COVID 0, Benghazi 0, Doge funding 0, Ukraine impeachment hoax 0, and he says, you're welcome. So it is a fact. Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey's efforts largely are responsible for the arrest of former Prince Andrew. So there you go. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.